everyone, welcome or welcome back to the Marketing Nomad YouTube channel. I am the Marketing Nomad. Alrighty, so in this video, we are going to be talking about the second thing that I am doing with respect to building a healthier relationship with hope. Now, if you missed the first video where I talked about the first thing that I have been doing for about 1.5 years with respect to building a healthier relationship with hope, I am going to put that link in the description box below. Alright, so continuing off of that video, something that I have realized with respect to building a relationship with hope is oftentimes, especially this was about 2 years ago, I would keep pushing myself to be hopeful. I thought that it was a mindset shifting. I thought that if I told myself enough number of times, like, just be hopeful, like, stop thinking negative, be hopeful, I thought that it would work, but it actually ended up making me feel a lot worse about myself, just because it felt fake. It didn't feel like I was feeling it within me. And I don't know, I felt like this weird pressure on me to be a certain way that I wasn't feeling on the inside. And that by itself, it caused a lot of frustration within me. And honestly, I think that I was also a little bit hard on myself. Every time I pushed myself to, like, stop thinking negative and think positive instead, or have hope. I feel like it was me telling myself that you're not where you're supposed to be, and that's wrong. And even if I didn't say those words to myself, I was feeling it at the back of my mind. And obviously, as someone who I truly advocate for, self-love and being kind to yourself, being compassionate towards yourself. And that by itself, it just wasn't sitting right with me, because I knew I wasn't being kind and compassionate to my journey of building a healthier relationship with hope. And so I set out to reframe my own thought processes about where I was on my journey. And when I started taking a look at the entire journey, all right, I realized that my starting point was hopelessness. All right, that was a point that I was in for a couple of years. I didn't want to be in that place anymore, and my journey was to get to, my endpoint was to be more hopeful, right? When I started looking at this as, all right, that is my starting point and this is my endpoint, then I'm somewhere in between, which means there is a phase that exists as a transitory phase between hopelessness and being hopeful. And why am I not considering that phase? Why am I pushing myself to be at the end point when there's actually a journey of me getting to that? And so that by itself was like a very big twist for me. You think of these with respect to your business, like, oh, okay, that's the goal. I'm getting to that goal. I'm making my way to that goal. There are certain milestones that I do have while I'm getting to that goal. But I don't know why I couldn't see it that way when it came to this aspect with respect to hope. Because with my business, it's so clear. That's the goal. I'm still making my way to that goal. I have to be kind and compassionate to myself. I have to allow space for, however I wish to show up on this journey to get to that endpoint. Whereas when it came to hope, I was just pushing myself. It was like the endpoint had to be achieved within so-and-so time frame, or I just had to directly jump from hopelessness to being hopeful without even considering that there was a journey in between. There was a phase in between. And realizing this and applying that concept that I had for my business goals to this was such a game changer for me. Like, even understanding that, hey, there is an in-between phase. That is black, this is white, you are in the gray area, and that's okay too. That by itself took off so much pressure on me, just understanding that I am making my way towards being hopeful. I'm not there yet. I don't have to show up as 100% hopeful, but at the same time, I am not where I was. I am not at hopelessness. I'm not at point zero. All right. So if I were to think of these concepts as maybe a door, all right? Let's take it as a door. Hopelessness, the door was completely closed, all right? Absolutely closed, and I was not there yet. Hopeful, how I interpret it in my mind, is a door that's open and me walking through it confidently or feeling good about walking through that door. What was happening when I was forcing myself to be hopeful was, even though the door was not completely open, I was just like struggling to push myself through it. Just like maybe how when the door gap is too less, and then you like suck your stomach in, and then you like very force yourself through it. You make some weird, like you first put your hand in. It's a it's an uncomfortable place to be in, all right? Even pushing yourself through the gap, which is slightly less than what you would like it to be, or what would be a natural fit for you to go in. Yeah, there are a lot of hanky-panky things that you have to do in order to push yourself through that gap. And I was doing all sorts of things. It was feeling very uncomfortable for me. It was causing that frustration, because it does, right? When you're not able to fit into something that you otherwise naturally should have, it makes you feel very, very uncomfortable. There's that frustration. I didn't want to be in that place. So what I understood was there is an in-between phase. That is door closed, completely closed. This one is door completely open, and I'm feeling good enough to walk through that door. The in-between was the door being open and me just watching that door. Learning how to be comfortable with the door being open. Learning how to be comfortable with the possibility that at some point, I will be confident enough, I will feel good enough to walk through that door. That is the in-between phase. And for me, a word that I lean on a lot, all right, just to make me feel more comfortable with this phase that I'm in, the transitory phase, the word for me is maybe, all right? I'm not completely there where I can say, oh yes, it will happen, and I'm so sure it is, or yes, I'm hopeful that I'm not there yet. I don't feel that way. I with certain aspects of my life, I cannot. I'm just not there yet. But the in-between word for me is maybe. Maybe it will happen. Maybe it won't repeat. Maybe. Just allowing that space for the possibility of hope to seep in itself has taken off so much pressure off of me, all right? It's also given me the space to understand that the journey from hopelessness to being hopeful, it's a process by itself, and I need to give myself that grace. I need to be kind to myself as I make my way to that. I need to also take it at my own pace. I cannot push myself to walk through that door when I'm not ready to, when I don't want to, when it doesn't feel right to me. Instead, I can watch the door being open. So that's still progress from the door being closed. That's still progress. I watch the door open and I take it as it comes. I stay with the door open. At some point, maybe in the future, I will be ready to walk through that door. But today I'm not, and that's okay too. So a word that I lean on a lot during this time, especially when I'm not ready to be completely hopeful, is maybe, all right? And I think that it is important for us to honor the gray space between where we were and where we want to get to. And maybe that's a video for another day, where I talk about, because from a business perspective, yes, I can see that, there is a journey to where we get to. But I think that sometimes when we have certain goals that are not tangible, I think that it becomes difficult to see that in-between journey. And so for me, recognizing the in-between door open was such a relief, and it really took so much of pressure off of me. I was not pushing myself to walk through the door. I was not feeling uncomfortable. I was not feeling sad that I was forcing myself to be a certain way. I was not putting this unnecessary pressure on myself. So I wanted to share that with you, this thought process of hopelessness is the door being completely closed, all right? Being hopeful is the door being open and you feeling good about walking through that door. So the in-between phase, think of yourself as being in this phase. You're learning how to be comfortable with the door open. Just that, just that. There is nothing that you have to physically do. There is nothing that you have to push yourself through. Nothing. You're just standing there. You're just watching the door open. That's pretty much it. And that by itself, let me tell you, has been a journey. Learning how to sit with that discomfort of the door being open, learning how to get used to the door being open, and today being comfortable, being open that, all right, I'm okay that the door is open. That by itself has been a process for me, all right? So even with the door being open, that has been its own journey. So don't push yourself to be okay with the door being open. Like I told you, there was a lot of discomfort. Like even keeping the door open for me was a lot of discomfort that I just had to sit with. That's it. That's pretty much it. I just sat with the discomfort and I understood that I am in the gray area. There is not one particular action that I have to take at this point in time. I just have to sit with the door being open. And gradually over time, I started getting used to the door being open. Today, I guess I would say a little bit more comfortable with the door being open. I'm able to use the word maybe. All right, I'm able to use the word maybe and, just even recognize that maybe on the other side of that door, there's something better. Maybe this could happen. Maybe it could be different this time. I don't know what. I've not yet narrowed down the details, and that's okay too. Just even keeping the possibility, standing on the other side and saying the possibility could be different, that by itself, I feel is a lot of progress from where I was with respect to my relationship with hope. And I feel that I'm still on my way. I'm still getting there, getting to a point where I can feel comfortable with being hopeful, but this is an in-between phase and I need to honor that as well, right? And I need to take it at my own pace. I can't force myself to be hopeful. I can't, because that can quickly turn into toxic positivity, right? And that's also another thing to be careful about. So I think that understanding that the door is open and I'm just there. I'm just on the other side. I'm there. I'm watching the door. I'm allowing the possibility, whatever that could be, I'm allowing that possibility to sit with me. That by itself, that gray area has given me a lot of comfort, right? And I wanted to share that with you in case, you were kind of pushing yourself to be very hopeful, but maybe forgetting that it is a journey to get to that point, because I forgot and I had to remind myself, and I remind myself even to this day, I constantly remind myself that I don't have to put unnecessary pressure on myself. When I'm ready, at some point, I will walk through that door. I am healing in my own space, in my own time, consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously as well. I am healing, and at some point I will be ready. Yes, all right, but today I'm not, and that's okay too. I'm giving myself the space to be exactly where I am, and I'm being kind to myself. I'm giving myself the grace to be comfortable wherever I am, to accept that this is where I am at as well, instead of forcing a certain outcome, pushing myself to be a certain place or a certain version of myself. I'm getting to her, yes. It'll take time, yes. And maybe I'll be here for quite some time, and that's okay as well. All right, so I just wanted to share this with you because I think that a lot of times there's so much of pressure on us, like being completely hopeless. Yes, it is very, very detrimental. I understand that. I understand the urge to step out of that energy, absolutely. But to push yourself and force yourself to be hopeful as well is also detrimental, in my opinion, because you're not ready for that. There is a journey to get to that. There is a healing process to get to that point as well. And you need to make space for that. And so making space for me, which was just accepting that the door is open and just sitting with the door. That's pretty much it. Just sitting with the door, entertaining the idea of what could be on the other side of the door, but not being completely sure about it, and that being okay as well. Entertaining the idea of a possibility, entertaining the idea of a maybe. That has helped me. That has helped me transition from being completely shut down, like the door being absolutely closed, to the door opening, me being a little bit uncomfortable, actually quite uncomfortable with the door being open, and then just sitting with it, learning how to just be with it, be around an open door. That by itself was a process, is a process, and still in the process as well. All right, and just understanding that it is a journey to get to becoming a version of yourself that's ready to confidently and feeling good about walking through the open door. All right, so this is where I will leave you for today. I really hope that this has given you a starting point to see where you are at with your journey and how you have been to yourself about where you feel you need to be. That was a little bit of a complicated sentence. I hope that came out right. But I hope you understand what I meant. Just even taking a look at how you've been to yourself, like the thoughts that you're having, the feelings that you're having with respect to your journey. I think that it is important too as well. And I feel like if you've been too hard on yourself, I hope that this gives you a good starting point to start being kinder to yourself, to give yourself more grace as you get to the end point that you are, well, hoping for. All right, okay. So if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because that tells you every single time I do upload a new video. And yeah, take care, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye.